Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Rukia Mohamed. I'm a psychological counselor and also a mother and a community person. So when we approach Ramadan, many people maybe it's just like the way when we do approach the new year, some people make resolutions. So we find that many Muslims usually make resolutions on some certain behaviors they want to change over Ramadan. They want to become better people after Ramadan. So I'm going to talk about behavior change. How do we change the behaviors or some habits that we have acquired over time? It could be anything. It could be probably eating habits. It could range from eating habits to even major things like unhealthy behavior and all that. So before we go to any other issue about this particular series, I want to discuss how do we acquire behavior. So psychologically, what we usually take behavior has been learned. And of course, it can be a learned and relearned, but behavior is learned through acquisition at times, out of the experiences that we go through as human beings. So you find that probably as a child, you're born in a family whereby people do things a certain way, and you end up acquiring that behavior. So there is also the genetics predisposition of acquisition of behavior. At times you'll hear people telling you that, hey, you usually smile like your dad. You do this and that like your mom, and all that. So kuna ile, the one that comes from genetically, but there's also what we learn from our environment, which we at times call nature and nurture. So nature is what we acquire from our ancestors and the genetics, and then nurture is how we acquire behavior through what we've been exposed to. So you find that in the exposures, you might find yourself probably doing things a certain way because you've done that for a long time. And that's why we say behavior is learned and it can be unlearned. So probably there are these things that or habits that you've grown that you want to change, and you're saying that this Ramadan, inshallah, I want to maybe wake up for tahajjud. I want to probably read more of my Quran. Probably I want to watch less YouTube and spend less time on social media. And we can even go to the levels whereby we have the intense, maybe behaviors that are negative, that you might want to change. So, of course, there are those ones that you can change by probably, we will see the different things that one can do in order to change behavior. But there are some that you might need help in them, maybe through visiting a therapist and all that. But largely, there are things that we can change on our own. And there are a number of stages that people go through when they talk of behavior change. So you find that these stages probably are things we do not know about. Probably we have heard them, but maybe today we are going to learn more about some of those stages. But back to how we acquire behavior. You know, why behavior acquisition is important is also some of the specific things that lead to acquisition of behavior. So some of them through what people have gone through. You might find someone has gone through maybe trauma, maybe people had absent parents, maybe people have been subjected to abuse and all that. So they acquire a certain kind of behavior based on the abuse or the experiences that they went through. Maybe they also acquired a certain kind of behavior because of what they had people say about them, what people were telling them about themselves. Maybe some have been bullied in schools, on social media, and they end up having probably a low self-esteem, and it eventually manifests in the behavior. So there are behaviors, like we are categorizing some of these things to like minor issues, simple things, habits that we do in life that we want to change. Maybe they have no harm, but we want to change them to better habits, or we just want to graduate to another level in that behavior. And there are these behaviors that have negative effects in our lives. For example, when we talk of social media and the time we spend on social media, and probably when you're on that social media, you miss your salah, you maybe don't, if you're someone who goes to school or college, you don't have enough time to revise. And also you're exposed to maybe negative issues in that particular social media. There's cyberbullying, there are so many things that happen there. So all these things, someone can actually change some of these behaviors. And before someone can change behaviors, there are these components of behavior change that we talk of. Some of these components of behavior change or elements are things like, do you know which behavior you want to change? I think that's the first place that you start. Which is that behavior that I want to change? Do I want to maybe pray more sunnah? Do I want to stop maybe spending more time on the internet and TikTok and all that? Do I want to probably check how I talk to people? Maybe I talk to people in a harsh way, harsh tone. Do I want to change how I relate with my kids? Do I want to change probably the relationship between myself and my family? So the first thing is identify the behavior that you want to change, and ask yourself, what do I need to do in order to change this behavior? What is it that makes me feel that I need to change this particular behavior? So once you identify that behavior and ask yourself, what will it take for me to change this behavior? Then you are almost ready, because the first step is usually the hardest. But once you identify it and you also look at the resources within you or around you that you can use to help you change that behavior, then you're on your way to behavior change. Then as you think of changing behavior, it's important to think of what are the barriers, what are the things that can make my change of behavior difficult. And I'm going to talk about that more, and also my colleague will also talk about that more at some point. But it's always good to look at the barriers, because if you don't look at all these things before you embark on your journey to behavior change, you might find yourself at the middle losing hope and deciding, after all, I've been like that throughout, like resigning and just giving up at some point. So it's always good to plan ahead of time. So the other thing that you look at is be aware that at times with behavior change, there is a possibility you can relapse. You can find yourself going back to the habits that you are trying to change. When you have that awareness at the back of your mind, then when it happens, it won't get you by surprise, and it will also not be something that makes you decide that behavior change is not for me, but you will understand that is normal. At times when we are changing behavior, we can also relapse and go back to the habits that we are trying to kick out of our lives. So for example, you tell yourself, this time round, when Ramadan comes, I'm going to maybe just make 4 dishes instead of 6. And then when you start, you find yourself making even 7 at some point. Day 1, day 2, you find yourself making the 4 that you said you will do. Then come day 6, 7, you're like, no, I need this particular dish, I need the other dish. And by the way, there's also this salt dish I was told, I saw it on TikTok, and that one I have to have it. then you find yourself even going to 8 at times. So it's okay knowing that at times we relapse when we are changing behavior. Will make you not judge yourself harshly. I think that is the point I want to make. When we are changing ourselves and we find ourselves at times regressing back to the behaviors that we don't want, it is okay, don't give up, just stand up and try again. There's a proverb someone shared, I think last week, a Japanese proverb that said, like when changing yourself, you fall 7 times, but you wake up 8 times. So you don't give up, you pick yourself up and start again. And the magic about behavior is that, as I've said, it is learned and it is unlearned. You can relearn other behaviors over time. So when you're going through behavior change, remind yourself and be compassionate with yourself, knowing that most of the times, these habits that we want to change, we've lived with them for years. We've lived with these habits for years, probably even 4 years, 2 years, or 5 months, 6 months. So you cannot change that behavior in just one sitting. Of course, the mindset is very important. The fact that you've told yourself, now I want to change this behavior, that is the first step. But you have to be compassionate with yourself and know that it is a step-by-step thing. Know that it is not easy. At times it will be good. You'll find yourself moving to the direction that you want, but there are times when you fail. So be compassionate with yourself and know that you can actually change your behavior, and in time you can be able to get to where you want to get. So I will talk about the steps of behavior change later. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.